I'd just like to take a couple of seconds to tell you about BH Petrol's Infinity RON 97 Euro 4M, because it's not like any other petrol out there, because it features advanced German additives that go into your engine, clean out deposits that have already formed from before, and if you continue using the Infinity RON 97 Euro 4M, you're basically ensuring that your engine continuously runs clean. So not only that, it also comes with an advanced friction modifier that goes in, reduces the friction of your engine, ensuring that you get maximum power and maximum fuel efficiency. Besides that, it also comes with 90% reduced sulfur. 90%, guys. So what this does is, it makes sure that your engine runs clean, and it's also great for the environment. So the next time you pour BH Petrol's Infinity RON 97 Euro 4M, know that you're making the right choice. Hey guys, so finally the day has come where we are getting to drive the new Proton X90. We're going to take it for a drive up to Genting and back. But before we do that, let's check out the exterior. Now Proton has spent many months teasing us about the X90, but it's easy to see why actually. It's the most premium Proton that we've ever had. And it's a good looking car as well, there's absolutely no doubt about it, especially in this white color. It gives it an elegant premiumness and just a touch of class, that words that we would probably never usually used to use with the Proton. Now the grille is the biggest update. Now this is what we call the infinite weave grille with this diamond-like design elements as well. And this is the ethereal bow that is the biggest distinction between the design of the X70 as well as the X90. This gives it a very different overall design. Now you can see that the LED lights as well look really good. Now this is the daytime running lights over here, and the headlights basically illuminate over there. And these are the fog lamps over there. There's no doubt that it's an excellent looking machine. You get 19-inch Continental tires over here. Not a fan of Continental tires, as I'll explain more about this later. And then 48-volt energy management system. So this is Proton's first ever new energy vehicle. So because this is the first time that Proton has ever produced a mild hybrid car. Even from the back, well, it looks very classy. There's these new fonts from Proton as well. It looks very classy, it's simplistic, and that's not a bad thing. Take a look at the side. It's actually quite a big car. See here, it's actually much bigger than the X70. Now the interior, well, it's probably the nicest interior ever for Proton. Well, it's pretty much the same as the Geely, but let's not talk about the Geely over here. Let's just appreciate it as a Proton X90. Now it looks and feels very premium, and there's no doubt that I think anybody that steps into the interior of the X90 will be quite impressed, because everything is soft touch, there's no hollow points, and it's basically a well appointed interior. You get this massive screen at the center for the entertainment system. You get another massive screen over there that works as the meter panel, and then you get this very Audi-like gear shifter. So it's a very nicely well appointed interior that feels high quality. I like the interior. There's no I think it's just really well built. Now upon further inspection, you'll notice that all this feel very premium. The stitching, the soft touch plastic, everything. There's no hollow points, unlike the X70, which I really like. I mean, even look at the rear view mirror, it almost looks like it's borderless, except there's this plastic panels at the edge, but it does look like it's borderless, and that's what matters. In terms of the meter panel, yes, you get this massive, this looks about 8 inches, I can't remember exactly, again you have to fact check me over there. Looks about 8 inches over there, between 8 to 10 inches. The thing is, you can't customize it, and in my opinion it gives you too much information. Your speedometer reading is there, your RPM reading is here, your mileage reading is here, your RPM reading is here. This is your RPM, basically your RPM meter, and this is your gear indicator. So there's just basically too much going on. So unfortunately you can't customize it, but yeah, that aside, you still get the same software as the X70. You still do not get Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which I think is a bit of a bummer. But you know, it's an almost perfect car in my opinion, except for the fact that it doesn't have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. So other than that though, you get all vehicle settings over here. ADAS, traffic sign, you get traffic sign information, so it reads Malaysian traffic signs, so that's great. You get rear side radar system, autonomous emergency braking, cruise control, lane keep assist. Basically, whether you want it on or off, you can control everything from here. So yeah, it's quite intuitive. There's no complaints about the software. You just have to spend some time getting used to it. And then further down, this is basically your on-off button, and then this is your emergency braking, emergency signal buttons, and then these buttons over here feel high quality, feel premium. It's not hollow, which I really like. You get 2 Type A USB slots there, and you get a wireless charge pad here. Alright, so let me give you one complaint. Let me share one complaint that I have about the gear selector. So right now I'm in P, as you can see over here, I'm in P. Yeah, if I want to go to D, naturally I'll have to pull it down, but I've just pulled it down once, and instead of going to D, I go to N. So for me to go to D, I have to pull it again, and then it goes to D, which is basically a 2-step process. It should naturally be a 1-step process. And now if I'm in D and I want to go up to R, I have to press it up, push it up twice for it to go to R. Yeah, so that I think is unnecessarily complicated, but the good thing is there's a P button here, so I just press this to go to parking. The great thing is, check out how clear the cameras are. How do I bring that up again? Check out how clear the surroundings are. It's amazing. So I'm impressed with the camera. That is great. And then further down here, well, current X70 owners will recognize these fonts. These are basically the same fonts as the current X70, and you get 3 different driving modes: Eco, Comfort, Sport. So to change between driving modes, you just twist and turn this toggle here, this knob over here. So that's good. This is your 360 camera, which I showed you earlier. Your traction control, your hill descent control, your automatic parking, which basically helps you park the car, your electronic parking brake, your auto hold button. So everything feels nice. Even the seat feels and looks premium, and it comes with ventilated seats. So I'm not sure, this is the premium version, I'm not quite sure. Yes, it comes with ventilated seats, because I drove the flagship variant, so there's always, ventilated seats are always a great thing, especially in our climate. So to open the glove compartment, you push this button here, and then check out how deep this cubby hole is. It's like my whole arm can just get in there, so that's good. Then this is basically your steering wheel. Looks and feels really nice. So in terms of premiumness, there's no doubt that the X90 looks and feels really good. All these buttons feel amazing. The only letdown is that there's no Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. So in terms of boot space, well, this is the 5-seater. This is the 7-seater. This is not the 6-seater. So you get, you push this down. And then the good thing is you get this Velcro so that the straps stay in place. So check out the amount of space you get. So that is great. So, and the good thing is, even for the passengers of the third row, you get your own air conditioning vents and your own USB ports, Type A USB ports. Superb. Now this is basically the same engine that is found on the X90, a 1.5 litre 3-cylinder turbocharged engine mated to a 7-speed gearbox. But however, this one in the X90 is basically partnered, it's coupled to a 48 volt electric motor system actually. And it has a lithium ion battery, and that basically makes it a little bit more powerful and a little bit more efficient than the X70 model. But it's not exactly a lot more powerful. I think it could be better. I do find the engine to be a little bit more sluggish. I basically think that in terms of power delivery, it needs to have a little bit more power. But in terms of efficiency, well, time will tell. We went to Genting and back, and it was good enough already. But time will tell exactly how it does in such a big car. A 3-cylinder engine, 1.5 litre, backed up by an electric motor doesn't sound like a bad deal, but it's not exactly quick, and in my opinion, it does need a little bit more punch. So as soon as you start driving the X90, well, its driving character, you'll notice that it actually matches the premiumness of the interior. It's not something that will astound you in performance or something like that. This is far from a performance car. This is, after all, a family-oriented SUV, and it does its job really well. This is also the most premium product that you'll ever see or have seen yet from Proton. And it's an amazing car, there's no doubt about it. It's a very comfortable car. I like how it's very quiet in here. It does get rather noisy when you pick up speed on the highways. I'll demonstrate that later. But besides that, behind the steering wheel, you'll be surprised, you'll be hard done to tell that this is a Proton. And you might think that, hey, Kashi, it's not really a Proton, right? Geely has had a lot of influence. This is, after all, a Boyu. But no, guys, this is not exactly a simple copy and paste kind of job, because Proton has done massive R&D into this. 96,000 man-hours invested into the X90 is no joke. 1.2 million kilometers of testing on Malaysian roads is no joke either. And it has a lot of technology that is well suited to Malaysian roads, particularly the rear suspension, which is the biggest departure from the Geely that this car is based on. Because in the Geely, it comes with a torsion beam suspension at the back. Well, now, thanks to that R&D that I was telling you about earlier, Proton has found that a multi-link suspension is the best way forward for Malaysian roads. So that is one of the biggest updates to the X90 as compared to the car that is based on. So again, it's not a simple copy and paste job. I also really like the way it handles. Of course, it comes with an electronic steering rack. So depending on the mode that you're in, you get 3 different driving modes, by the way. You get Eco, Comfort and Sport. So right now, I'm in Comfort, and all those beeps and buzzers and bells that you're hearing, it's all part of the safety systems, the ADAS safety systems that are on board. There's so many safety systems that it's just impossible to remember them all. So I'm just going to list them all out in the description box below this video, so refer to that. But yes, there are technologies that are also new to the Proton, such as a rear cross traffic alert, rear collision warning as well. So these are all never before seen technologies in a Proton, and they're very much welcomed actually. I really like the rear cross traffic alert. It comes standard in the car that I'm driving on a day-to-day basis, and I can tell you that it's really handy, especially when you're reversing out of a parking lot. But anyway, back to those driving modes. You get Eco, Comfort and Sport. This does not do anything to the suspension because this is the regular suspension setup. However, in Eco mode, it just sort of numbs down the throttle input, so it actually desensitizes the air conditioning settings as well, and it also does something to the steering rack, so it kind of slows down the steering rack as well, so it's not as quick. So this is supposed to help you with fuel efficiency, with fuel consumption. And then when you get into comfort mode, this is a great balance between sport and eco, so which is the mode that I'm in right now. The steering feels very light, feels very, it just feels like a regular steering setup. Now, if I go into comfort, if I go into sport, see, it's not immediately evident, but the steering rack does feel a little bit heavier, and the accelerator pedal is a little bit more sensitive. Now, it's actually, the difference is not vast, but it's okay. So I would just go about my business in comfort mode. In eco mode, the air conditioning just gets a little too warm for my liking. And then, besides that though, the mild hybrid system. So this is an interesting addition, and according to Proton, this is actually its first ever new energy vehicle. So new energy vehicle basically just means that it's a hybrid lah. Right? So because there's a motor in here and it's backed up by a small lithium-ion battery as well. So it's unlike a regular hybrid setup, because a regular hybrid setup, you will have the hybrid powertrain actually intruding, or rather complementing the internal combustion engine quite a bit. Well, in here, in a mild hybrid setup, it just helps with things like starting up the car, and it also, at higher speeds, it decouples the engine from the gearbox for a couple of seconds for something called coasting. Now this is a technology that is not exactly new. About 10 years ago, Porsche introduced this system, if I'm not mistaken, in the Panamera first and then in the Cayenne. I remember driving the Panamera back in Germany back then, just what it does is it sort of just decouples the gearbox from the engine, and this lets you coast. When you're coasting, your RPMs are down at 0, but you're maintaining that same speed that you need to go about on the highway. And this basically, the car is able to do that with 0 fuel consumption. So basically that's the same technology that we are having here in the X90, though at a much lower level, because it's only for a couple of seconds that you get that. And even so, Proton says that the X90 is still a little over 10% more efficient than the X70. Why is the X70 the benchmark? Because they're both basically running on the same 1.5 litre 3-cylinder engine. So it's more efficient, and it also has 10% more better acceleration. So that's what the mild hybrid system is there for, to give you more power as well as better efficiency. Power meets efficiency is basically the holy grail of modern motoring, right? And the X90 checks their boxes. So the roads have opened up, and this has allowed us a chance to sort of push the X90 a little bit more than what we really should be doing. But this has revealed different things about the car, such as the fact that wind intrusion, noise intrusion is actually quite substantial. You actually hear a lot of wind noise that intrudes back into the cabin as well. But besides that, that's actually not really a problem, because after all, this is a family car. You really shouldn't be doing the speeds anyway. But just in case you ever find yourself carrying unnecessarily high speeds on the X90, do know that the wind intrusion is going to be you're going to be hearing a lot of outside noise. And then besides that though, I'm currently driving in sport mode and I got my foot down. Acceleration is decent, but what I think could be better is the steering feel. Even though it has that heft, but it just is a little bit, I would like a little bit more chatter from the steering wheel. I would like to know a little bit about what the wheels are doing. Right now, it's just not communicating, not telling me a lot about what's happening at ground level with the wheels, with the tires. But besides that though, I have some decent control, I have some good control. Body roll is acceptable, because after all, this is a car that is better suited for comfort. So body roll, yeah, you do feel the body roll. But now, if I put my right foot down, yeah, it takes some time to reach up to accelerate. So mid-range torque is alright. You don't really feel the 300 PS, the 300 Newton meters, the 190 PS. Yes, it does have really good standing acceleration, but mid-range torque, especially between 140 to 160 kilometers per hour, I feel could be better. But what happens if you come back down to decent levels and drive according to the speed limit and basically stop breaking the law? So you get a very practical car, you get a comfortable car that is nice, quite serene in here. You do get that tire noise that intrudes back into the cabin, but perhaps that is just a simple tire swap away. I didn't check what tire brand this is. Any idea? GT?
No. Continental Eco Concept.
Oh yeah, that's right. So it's running on Continental tires, and I'm not a fan of Continental tires, simply because I think Continental tires are made of a harder compound as compared to the likes of Goodyears or Toyos or even Michelins for that matter, which are slightly more expensive, granted, but they run on softer compound and as such are a little bit quieter. All the experience that I've had with Continental tires, I'm not a fan. So again, they're quite noisy, and you feel that again in the X90. So I think a simple tire swap to perhaps Goodyears or even Toyos will fix that problem. So it's obvious that when you start pushing the X90, it starts to get out of its comfort zone. But that's to be expected, because again, as I said, this is after all an SUV designed for the family, designed for comfort, and it does that really well. There's no doubt about it. Really big, comfortable SUV. This is, as I said, this is the flagship variant, so it's a 6-seater. As you can see, my passengers are really comfortable at the back as well. There are actually no complaints as long as you drive this car decently. It's actually a really nice car to drive. But what about fuel consumption though? So as far as efficiency is concerned, we started the day with 620 kilometers. We didn't drive it legally. So we went up all the way to Genting, we pushed the car, did stuff that we shouldn't have done. And yet we have a range of 457 kilometers, which just tells you one thing, that this car is obviously designed for efficiency. So even though it has a 1.5 litre 3-cylinder engine, and this is a car that is not exactly light, so the flagship version weighs in at about 1,740 kilograms, not light. So that means that full credit has to go to the engine, that despite it being small and despite it having a smallish turbo as well as just 3 cylinders, and even though it's backed up by mild hybrid system, it still is quite capable in as far as efficiency is concerned, because we still have a range, as I said, of 457 kilometers. Not bad, not bad at all. And as far as performance is concerned, again, it's not a car meant for performance. It is, however, a car designed for comfort. Now let's go jump in the back seat. So one of the key selling points of the X90 is this, the captain seat in the second row. And as you can see, my 6-foot frame is actually quite comfortable here. I really like the fact that it comes with your individual armrests, which means you can get really comfortable. And then if you need more space, you actually have these controls for the front passenger seat, the Boss control, which lets you get even more comfortable. And it's very important to understand that this is not, the X90 is not a simple rebadge. In fact, Proton has invested over 96,000 man-hours into basically customizing the X90 for Malaysian roads. And then from there, they have gone on to test the X90 over a duration of 1.2 million kilometers. And one of the results from that is a multi-link suspension for the back. Because in every other market where the Gili Boyu is sold, which is basically what this car is, the back suspension consists of a torsion beam suspension, where else in Malaysia, because Proton did some extensive R&D, it was found that the multi-link suspension is best suited to Malaysian roads. And I'm kind of glad that they did it as well, because it's a really comfortable ride quality at the back here. Of course, you do get the body roll and such when, as you can see over here, you do get the body roll in tight corners and such. But I can bet you it's much better than having a torsion beam setup. Then, besides that though, if you want to be driven in the X90, don't see why there should be any points or complaint, because you also get your own air conditioning vent. In fact, every passenger, there's 6 seats in here, and every passenger gets his or her own air conditioning vent. And besides that though, you also get ventilated seats in the second row, which is brilliant. And you get your own air conditioning blower settings. Unfortunately, you do not get to adjust your temperature. You do also get a Type-C USB port as well as the Type-A USB port. And then one of my key favorites though is you get this massive panoramic roof that stretches all the way from the edge of the second row seats all the way to the front. And if it does get too warm, well, you can just, hey Proton,
Yes, I'm here.
close the sunshade.
Got it.
You can just close the sunshade. So there's no such thing as getting too warm in the second row seats. So in conclusion, the X90 undoubtedly is a very nice car. It looks great, the interior is very well appointed, and basically there are no complaints as far as comfort and quality goes. But I really don't like the way it drives. I think the drive quality can be better. Power seems sluggish. Just think power delivery is better, should be better. Steering, well, you don't really feel connected to the car. I feel that this 3-cylinder engine does better in the X70 than it does in the X90. But the X90 is also a slightly heavier car. Perhaps that's why. Perhaps we just need to give Proton some time to tune out the bugs in the X90. But as a family car, it does really well, it's really comfortable. And if you're looking for a 7-seater or a 6-seater, or perhaps even something to be driven in, perhaps you have aging parents and you need somebody to drive them around, the X90 is actually a decent car as far as those things are concerned. If you don't mind the way it drives, because if you don't really feel connected to the car, the steering wheel is basically just a little too light, too disconnected, too muted, I would say. It just feels too numb. But if you don't mind all that, then the X90 is actually a decent car. Now the only thing that we need to know is the price, because if Proton gets the price right, somewhere between 150 and 160,000 for the flagship model, they have a real winner, and I'll tell you, go for the X90. For now, we just have to wait for the pricing. If you're looking for a decent family car that has a good, well-built, good quality interior and is spacious, X90 checks all those boxes.